Good afternoon. My name is Louis Davis. I'm a senior at the University of Pennsylvania and a student fellow at the Perry World House. Today I'm joined by Catherine Wihtol de Wenden, the Director of Research at the National Center for Scientific Research within the French Ministry of Education and Research. Catherine, thank you so much for joining us today.
No, it is a pleasure. Thank you for the invitation.
Oh, it's our pleasure. I have a couple questions to ask you today.
Yes.
The first being, what do you view as the biggest foreign policy challenge today?
I think migration is not necessarily a foreign policy challenge, even if it is an important one. And I think that migration has not a real place of legitimacy in the discussions in international relations, because we never speak about migration in the G8, in the G20. We never had at the United Nations organization an international conference of migration organized by this very important institution. So the migration is not treated as a high level. It is a debate for the populist approaches, extreme rightist parties, especially in Europe. And I think this fact is explaining the very weak answers we have to this migration challenge.
And given challenges like migration, what advice would you offer to the next president?
I could say that we have to be conscious that all European countries are involved in migration. Europe is the first destination for migration flows in the world, just before the US for the flows. And contrarily with the United States, most of Europeans don't consider they are living in an immigration continent. They considered for a long time that immigration was a short-term answer to labor shortages or to crisis of refugee, but they have to be conscious that they are dependent on migration for demographic and economic reasons, and they have to adapt their living together, including the migration questions like diversity, fighting against discrimination, applying the refugee right, and so on, and not refusing the fact that we are confronted with migration as a European but also a world issue.
Definitely, that's a great point that you raise. Sort of following up to that, what role do you see a place like Perry World House playing to engage with global issues?
I think it is very important that for this grand opening event, Perry World House included migration, because you seem to be mostly dedicated to tough international relations, and starting from so-called sociological phenomenon, including it in international relations, is a very important phenomenon. As I happen to write, migration has difficulties to be considered as a point, a very important point of international relations, as a factor of building diplomacies, but it is. And we have to take into account which are the realities when we speak about international relations.
Definitely, it's a great point. And finally, sort of a more quirky question here. What is the best meal that you've had abroad?
The best
meal
that I had abroad?
Right. Potentially from France or other places that you have traveled?
I happened to travel in 60 countries, so I have had a lot of experiences of meals, and perhaps the most simple are sometimes the most interesting. For example, one time I was invited in the Externado University in Colombia, in Bogota city, and we had a taste party about potatoes. And I never imagined there would be so many tastes of potatoes mixed with boiled chicken and maize, and it was a very interesting experience.
Well, I wish I was there to experience it with you. Well, thank you so much, Catherine, for your time, and I hope that you enjoy the rest of the grand opening of Perry World House.
I hope so. Thanks for this invitation.
Our pleasure.